Most people think the spine is just a stack of bones that holds us upright. But your spine is actually one of the most important structures in the human body because it protects and houses your central nervous system, the communication highway between your brain and every organ, muscle, and tissue in your body. And when the spine becomes injured, stressed, unstable, or restricted, the effects can go far beyond back pain. Welcome back to Living a Full Life. We're going to start a summer series of everything about the spine, the central nervous system. So dive in with me for the next few weeks. I hope to enlighten and wow you with the amazing creation that was the central nervous system and how it houses, protects, and functions the entire human experience. It's an amazing spot. So we're going to start with anatomy this week. And it's fascinating. The spine's anatomy is so much different than your femur or the bones in your wrist. It is absolutely fascinating how it functions. It's like the most biotech mechanism on the planet. It's all vertebrae have them with mammals and how their spines work. And if you think of a bear or a koala or a human or all the mammals out there with spines and all the things that they can do, an orangutan, I mean, swinging from trees, it's amazing how it functions. So the spine, the human spine, is 24 moving vertebrae, plus the sacrum and the coccyx, which is your tailbone, connected by discs, ligaments, muscles, joints, and nerves that flow through it. The main regions that we have are the cervical spine, which is your neck, the thoracic spine, which is your mid-back, your rib cage, and your lumbar spine, your low back. This has 5 vertebrae in the low back, 7 in the neck, and 12 thoracic vertebrae for each one of the ribs to attach to. It's the most stable area of the spine is the thoracic spine. But the real purpose of the spine, most people think it just holds us up and lets us walk on 2 feet. But all mammals have spines. So the most important job of the spine is to protect the nervous system. Bones are pretty much just mineral. They're calcium, hard mineral blocks or structures to help support the frame of the body. So the bone isn't the most fascinating part. It's the architecture of the bone and how it actually all works. The central nervous system, which is the brain, and the spinal cord control, coordinate, and regulate everything in the human body. It's this super fiber optic highway of information per second that goes back and forth, sensing, detecting, calibrating every motion, every sensation, everything that's happening in the environment every second. And all of this includes your muscles, your organs, your digestion, your breathing, your heart rate, your hormones, your movement, sensations, stress response. The list just goes on. Everything you can think of is controlled through the central nervous system. Your nervous system is the master control system of the body. The spinal cord runs through the spinal canal like a protected electrical highway. Think about that. It's like the New York subway tunnels. It protects this track unequivocally through all the anatomy that is built around it, through this tunnel, because the spine's really important. And any type of injury or malfunction to the spinal cord can be catastrophic to the rest of the body because of that highway of information. It's the only highway of information the body has. Everything else is channels and peripheral nervous system that go to particular areas like rivers on a map. But the central nervous system is like that main ocean body. So it's different. It can't be occluded, changed, or altered in any way because it'll have damaging effects to the down chain in the body. You may remember the original Superman, Christopher Reeves. And we measure injuries to the spine. If it's lower in the spine, then people may lose function to their legs, to their feet. Up in the lower back, they may lose function to organs in the abdominal or lower intestine. And then as we go higher in the spine, we start to lose more and more function below that injury. mothers that have had epidurals for pregnancy or to give birth, and wherever they hit the epidural at T6, T9, T10, wherever it may be, anything below that goes numb on purpose to minimize pain for a little bit. So we know how that works. Christopher Reeves had an injury at C1. He broke his C1 and it crushed his brain stem, which would kill most people. He survived. He's the longest survivor for that type of an injury, but he had no function below his eyes. There was no function. He could move his eyes a little bit. That was it. He was on machines for everything, for breathing, for heart, for everything to keep him alive during that time. And he did really well with that type of an injury. But if you remember him, he fell off a horse, horrible injury, broke his C1, and Superman was human. So that's the central nervous system. And we use pathology to study the spine. So the spine must move properly in order to function properly. People are like, okay, it's a stack of bones. That's great. And ribs attached to it. And it's really important. The central nervous system, the spinal cord runs through it. But how does it work? Does it do anything? It absolutely does. It must move properly in order to function properly. The spine is designed for movement, flexibility, shock absorption, and adaptability. If you've ever seen these gymnasts at the Olympics and the stuff that they can do, it's mainly because of a healthy spine. To be able to bend like that, move like that, create power like that, and support that athleticism shows you the intricacies of the spine. It's really cool to watch the human body in movement. Healthy spinal motion helps joints stay nourished. So moving these joints keeps them nourished, just like any joint in your body. The more you move, the healthier your knees are. The more you play tennis, the healthier your joints are. The movement is key. Discs have to stay hydrated. Muscles function properly. And nerves need to move freely through the spinal canal, and blood flow must circulate, and cerebral spinal fluid must flow through there as well. So it has a lot of intricacies behind it and how it also functions and keeps us moving. Modern day living has changed the way we adapt, and our spines are taking a toll on that as well. Today's lifestyles create prolonged sitting cultures where when we stand, our body weight, when you weigh yourself, you stand on a scale, correct? And you get a mass, a weight on the scale, and you record that. When we sit, we end up doubling the amount of pressure on our lower spine when we sit, because we take our legs out of the equation and our torso is now floating in this chair, and we have twice as much pressure in our low back. So not the end of the world. But when we add those hours together, day upon day, week upon week, month upon month, year upon year, it takes a toll on the spine. Prolonged sitting. The computers and devices that we use create forward head posture. Now we take this 10 to 15 pound bowling ball we call a head, and we start carrying it forward. And that creates stress in the upper spine, in our cervical spine. And that forward head posture has to be held back with ligaments and tendons and muscles. Screen addiction affects our nervous system. Repetitive stresses affect our spine. Inactivity affects cerebral spinal fluid flow and lymphatic flow and blood circulation flow. Poor lifting mechanics can actually cause direct injury to ligaments and tendons along the spine. And then chronic tensions as well, things that are just not resolved from old sports injuries, can all create problems along the spine. Most people sit, hunch, stare down at their phones, stop rotating, stop turning, stop twisting, and they stop extending to look up to the sky. No one bird watches anymore. So our necks are under a little bit of stress consistently. This creates the spinal stress we're talking about over time. So that's stress, which we have to be mindful on to have a healthy and functioning spine. So by being mindful, we can minimize the amount of time that we're there. We can switch from a sit-stand desk from our sit desk to maybe divide the day in half of sitting and standing. We could get a walking desk. We could get change our ergonomics at our desk, use multiple monitors, create them to go up higher so that our chins are up when we work to minimize that head forward posture. We can change our chairs to be more ergonomic. We can put a stool underneath our feet to bring our knees up to minimize some of that pressure off the low back. There's a lot of little tweaks we can do to help minimize the amount of stress. Can never eliminate it, but minimize the amount of stress that's there. So that's stress. Then we have acute injuries that can happen. This happens all the time. Doc, I don't know what happened. I was bending down to tie my shoe and my back went out and I'm in a lot of pain. I don't, still up to today, 20 years as a chiropractor, I don't know what it means when your back goes out. I don't go out where? Go out on a date, go out of place. I take x-rays. I've never seen a back out of place before. When we say it goes out, it's usually from an acute injury. A lifting injury, a car accident, a sports injury, a slip and fall. This chronic micro trauma, this is what's huge with the acute injuries. So it wasn't that we went down to tie your shoe that hurt your back or put your back out. It was the chronic micro traumas over time that set us up for an injury. So most spinal problems happen slowly over time. It's not one big injury. Those ones are very obvious, and you can CT it or MRI it or X-ray it and see the acute injury. Soft tissue swelling, rotator cuff tear, a meniscus tear in the knee, a disc herniation in the spine. You can see the injury that happened. But for the rest of us, I was tying my shoe, I was doing some yard work, I went to go lift the baby out of the crib, my back went out. That is different. That's from the slow micro traumas over time. It's from years of poor posture, repetitive stress, muscle imbalances that we ignored, sitting, inflammation, stress tension. Eventually, our joints start to stiffen and tighten, and muscles compensate because of that, because the mechanics are not moving like they used to. Our discs start to weaken and dehydrate along the spine, and the nerves start to become irritated. It's a slow progression of this. And then any soft tissue inflammation that happens acutely because you decided to go roller skating or go bowling for the first time in 10 years or whatever happens, that inflammation irritates the joint stiffness, the muscle compensation, or the disc weakening, and the nerves get irritated. And that's where the pain starts. So that is how the spine works overall. And that's how we can preserve it overall. But we need to understand the bigger things that are happening within the spine and nervous system regulation. Keeping a healthy spine makes sure that the superhighway of information that's going back and forth is functioning at an optimal level. That's the whole point of this. If we function at an optimal level for communication, the brain can heal faster, can send signals to heal faster. It can cure infections faster. It can create immune responses faster and more efficient. It can turn off immune responses faster and better, maybe with some types of autoimmune issues. It can regulate sleep better. It can regulate our hormones better. That's what optimization of the nervous system is all about. And that's what I think we were born with, was an optimized nervous system to live and maintain a healthy life. And when we start to irritate that nervous system, that's where we move away from wellness, a well-functioning body and nervous system, to a nervous system that goes under stress. I love it in chiropractic philosophy in school when they taught us to put a hyphen in the word disease. Dis-ease. The body was designed to work at ease. It's just, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to do anything. You just have to eat well and move, and the body will function at ease. If you apply too much stress to it, you will start to develop dis-ease, dis-ease, dysautonomia, disbalance, this off balance, not quite disease, not quite autonomic nervous system pathology, but maybe dysautonomia, disease. We start that whole balance and start sliding towards it until we end up getting an illness, degenerative disc disease, disc herniation, spondylolisthesis, spondylosis, stenosis. These are just all things of the spine. So once we get to the illness, the full illness, now it's really hard to bring it back to wellness. So the point is maintaining as much as we can. The most intricate part of the spine itself are the discs, and research continues to change in biotechnology and biomechanics on the disc. We used to think of the discs as these cartilaginous shock absorbers of the spine. Every time we jumped, we run, ran a marathon, or we jumped on a trampoline, or we went up and down the stairs. Each motion that we took, those discs would be shock absorbers, kind of like the foam in your shoes, on the bottom of your shoes, the soles. Every step you take, it's supposed to take a little bit of the cushion and the pressure off the weight and minimize impact with the hard surface of the ground. That was incorrect. The discs actually support our entire spinal anatomy and movement. They are soft cushions between the vertebrae. They do shock absorb, but they're movement facilitators in there. They bend, they help the spine bend, rotate, absorb force. But discs can degenerate. They can bulge, they can herniate if the fibers tear, they can dry out over time, they can become inflamed too. Most disc injuries don't happen from one moment. They happen from years of accumulated stress. And this is where the entire profession of chiropractic all started, focusing on the spine because it houses the central nervous system. Chiropractic focuses on spinal movement, alignment, joint function, nervous system communication, and biomechanics, not just pain relief. We evaluate the spinal mobility, the posture through x-rays, nerve irritation through diagnostics, muscle compensation through muscle testing, movement dysfunction through range of motion, and stress patterns based on how reflexes respond when you're on the table. Then, after the diagnosis is made and the system is mapped and the body is mapped, we then apply adjustments to the spine and joints of the body. These adjustments are low force, high velocity maneuvers, either with devices, activators, by hand, that help restore movement in specific joints of the spine. They reduce joint restrictions, they improve mechanics, and they calm the nervous system because the nerve roots can function better. And that helps improve adaptability overall, optimizing the nervous system input and output. Motion is life to the human body. We know this. The more you move it or lose it, right? That's what they used to say. Move it or lose it. The more we move, the more we facilitate function of the human body. But the best medicine out there, and has always been, is prevention. Prevention is the best medicine for everything. If we prevent issues from happening, we don't have to deal with the issues later on. And most people wait until the pain is severe. How many times have we hurt or pulled something and we're like, oh, I'm going to give that a couple days, see how it goes. And it does go away. Why? Because the body heals itself. It tries to bring inflammation down and heals. But sometimes what used to go away in 3-4 days may stick around for 2-3 weeks. And then people start to seek care. And by then, we may turn a simple problem into a bigger problem. They wait for severe pain, numbness, headaches that won't go away, sciatica, shooting pain down the leg. But spinal health should be proactive. So the exercise that we do should be spinal conscious, nutrition, sleep. You maintain spinal health before major problems develop. And we've done topics on every single one of these, or podcasts on every single one of these topics, because they play such an important role, not just to the nervous system, but the overall health of the body, which is sourced through the nervous system. This is why when we sleep, we shouldn't be sleeping on our stomach. It's too stressful on the spinal joints and even the rotator cuff. Got to bring your arm up. So that's why these mattresses and everything that we created with technology for pocket coil, memory foam, Tempur-Pedic incline bed frames, they're all designed for humans to be sleeping on their side or back. Nothing's really designed for the stomach because we shouldn't be on our stomachs. Your spine is not just a structure. It's the protective highway for nervous system that controls your entire body. Taking care of the spine means you take care of movement. You're conscious about the movements that you do. Wildly running left and right on a pickleball course without proper footwear and just flailing and not holding the paddle correctly can create a lot of biomechanical stress. So learning form and technique is really good. Golfing once every 2 years, going out there and just hacking at the ball can really hurt your low back, maybe even your elbow because of bad mechanics. So being mindful of the movements that we do, learning how to run properly, getting a running coach or going to a running club first if you want to get into running, getting a tennis coach, getting a golf coach, getting something first, just a little bit at the beginning, just for basic mechanics so that when you go out there, you know you're moving your body as well as you possibly can to prevent injury. Even a personal trainer at the gym just to show you all the machines. Most gyms will give you an initial consult on the first time that you start to show you major machines in there so you don't hurt yourself. It's a safety thing for them and it's a safety thing for you. You want to be doing that. Taking care of overall stress is important. Taking care of function is important. And taking care of the long term health of not just your spine, your entire body is really important. If this episode helped you understand more about the spine, share it. You may want to share this with your teenagers or even middle school kids for the anatomy of the spine. They may find this intriguing about it, or they may be learning about the spine or anatomy in school right now. This is a good one for them, and I kept it engaging for them as well, and how the nervous system actually works. We're going to follow up with this, and we're going to dive deeper into the things that you're probably thinking. Well, what happens if I do have a disc bulge or a disc herniation, or I was diagnosed with stenosis, or I was told I have degenerative disc disease, or I have arthritis of the spine, or no one should ever touch my neck, or I should never jump on a trampoline ever again. This is the stuff we're going to go through so that you can reclaim power to your body and get through life and enjoy it to the maximum. And we'll do this over the summer, and we'll call it Spine Summer 2026. In the next episode, we'll dive deep into what is misunderstood about the structures. And then we'll get more into discs and then hyperfunction of the autoimmune system. Well, not just the immune system in total, and how the nervous system coordinates the entire autonomic nervous system and tie things into what people didn't know that the spine can actually affect, from hormone imbalance to ADHD to eczema, asthma, bladder control, Crohn's disease, diverticulitis, gut issues, bowel control, bladder control, bedwetting for kids. I mean, the list just goes on because the nervous system controls it all. We'll tie it all together. That's the whole point of this, but we start with the basics and move on. Stay well, stay healthy. Take care.